incredible to see the amount of faces that are here tonight, and we want to give you the opportunity to learn a little bit about how chiropractic treatment can help with concussions, along with maybe some supplementation. So before I bring Dr. Jen up, I just wanted to share a little bit with her clinic and her practice, and what kind of her goals are within the clinic here. So Dr. Jen strives for excellence through superior patient treatment, education, and satisfaction. She's dedicated to helping all of her patients achieve their wellness goals. Croyview Family Chiropractic is a place for people of all ages, ranging from infants to seniors. You will find a healing and welcoming environment where optimal health will be experienced. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Jen.
Just gonna fire up. Okay, hold on, just give me 1 minute. Technical difficulties, of course, right? Should be firing up here. So anyways, so we're gonna talk a little bit about concussions tonight, because there's so much hype lately about concussions, and 20 years ago, nobody had ever heard of what the heck a concussion was, right? And so now everybody is saying, oh my gosh, my son or my daughter, or I had a concussion. And so I just want to have a little bit of a discussion about what is a concussion, how does it happen, and what can you do for it. So those are my ultimate goals for you guys to figure out tonight. So I'll have you flip the slide. So each year there's over 4 million traumatic brain injuries. And that is what a concussion is considered. So symptoms of a concussion are balance problems or dizziness, sensitivity to light or noise, confusion, double or blurry vision, difficulty remembering or paying attention. So you guys might be talking to somebody and they might be off over here, and they're not even focused in on you. And that can be some of the symptoms of a concussion. Feeling sluggish or hazy, or feeling like they're just constantly chronic fatigue. That's another thing, right? We're seeing a lot more of that lately as well. Feeling irritable or emotional, or they're feeling more down or depressed. So when people have these different concussions, it can also alter your mood and make you a different person than you were because it is a brain injury. It can also cause headaches, intermittent nausea, so where you feel nauseous one day, the next day you might be good, but then it can come back. Also vomiting, problems sleeping at night, that's a big thing too. So one of the things that you can do for concussion is to sleep, but people have problems sleeping because of the concussion. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You try and sleep, but then you can't sleep. And then also slowed reaction time. So a lot of the athletes will notice that too. That's one of the tests that you look for when you're looking for a concussion. Did this person have a concussion? You have them drop a ruler and you have them try and catch the ruler. And a lot of times they can't even catch it, because in that's 12 inches, you have that reaction time, but the reaction time is significantly slowed down because of the brain injury. So what the heck is a concussion? So a concussion is where you have an injury to the brain itself because of a force or an impact. So that's where your brain actually hits up against your skull. And so it can cause bleeding on the brain. So a lot of people don't realize that that's what a concussion is. A lot of people are like, oh, concussion, my eyes aren't dilating right, I can't sleep good, or I have all these other symptoms. No, it's actually a lot more complicated than that. It is, your brain is jiggling, it slams up against the inside of your skull because your skull is stopped, but your brain keeps going. And then it causes that impact and it can cause bleeding inside the brain. So what can happen after you have a concussion? So it can cause swelling in the brain because of the bleeding in the brain that happens. So the brain swells, but the skull doesn't grow with the brain, right? So that brain is swelling, putting a lot of pressure inside the brain. So sometimes people will have issues with that. It can also cause a lot of trauma to the neck, which is another underlying condition that a lot of people just don't realize or they don't pay attention to, because they have this brain injury, but then they don't even think about, hey, my neck might have been jostled. So they have a severe whiplash injury typically as well. So what can happen with a whiplash injury or with a concussion symptom is it can also cause all different kinds of hormones well. So people feel depressed or they feel down. So through getting adjusted and opening up that pathway, it also allows those hormones to start to balance out, which is really cool. They're doing a lot of new research on that. So say you have a concussion, you get adjusted, and that actually helps to balance out your cortisol, your stress levels, because the brain can communicate with the rest of your body. And also it can help balance out your dopamine, your serotonin, all these different things that depressed people typically have. So they started actually, there's a chiropractic group that started a free clinic out in LA, and they have a lot of homeless people that come in that are drug addicts typically, and they typically are drug addicts because they start off with a painkiller that their doctor gave them, and then it leads to them be addicted or constantly trying to find the high and being addicted to heroin or cocaine or whatever it is. So they have these people that are coming in, and through them getting adjusted, it's helping them to significantly increase their rate of recovery. So the typical recovery rate when you go to a treatment center is 5%. Theirs is 20%. So it's significantly higher for these people because it's helping to balance out their brain chemistry. So that's a really cool thing. So what else happens is when you get a concussion and you have bleeding on the brain or a traumatic brain injury, that starts to have, it causes a part of your brain not to function anymore. It causes a dead spot in your brain. So strokes, traumatic brain injuries, anything like that eats a hole in your brain. It causes that brain tissue to actually die off. And people don't realize, like, this is really significant, you guys. Like, football injuries are significant. You need to be taking care of it right away and paying attention to it, because through proper supplementation and getting adjusted, it can help your body to heal a lot faster and also to rebuild those neurologic pathways. So that way the brain can help to form pathways around that spot that isn't functioning as well as it used to. So it helps to increase that recovery rate and shorten the recovery time. So, next slide, please. So Jim McMahon, you guys probably knew about him, right? Football player. So they did a pre and post MRI. So pre-adjustment, post-adjustment. He'd had issues for years. And like he said in a couple articles that if he would have had a gun, he would have put it to his head, because there was that much pressure, that much pain, brain fog, all of these different things that he had no idea what to do. So this actually shows the cerebral spinal fluid. So if you look up here, you see how clogged it is in the brain. You can see the sulci in the brain. They're not really developed there. Can you guys see that? Mm-hmm. So let's look. So this is pre-adjustment. This is post. So look at how you can see how that all flows again, and there's not all that pressure up there. So it's really significant in getting adjusted. He said after he got adjusted, he felt like a toilet bowl had flushed and everything had just started functioning again. So what happens is that cerebral spinal fluid actually starts to flow back and forth through the spinal cord to back up to the brain. So the brain can have that flow. You can see the white material in there. So that's the cerebral spinal fluid, and it's supposed to flow to up and down the spine, back and forth to the brain. So when you're out of alignment, it can cause that to be jammed up, and it can't flow appropriately. Are you guys with me? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Next slide, please. So what should you do if you suspect you have a concussion? First thing, make sure to get checked by somebody that knows a little bit about what concussion is. Likely some of the sideline coaches are trained in this, because a lot of the coaches are, it's a big issue now, so the coaches are having training meetings. But get to a doctor, whether it be a chiropractor or a medical doctor, and make sure to have them check you right away. Make sure to get adjusted, because getting adjusted right away can help that cerebral spinal flow happen again. And then also make sure you're taking appropriate supplements, because that helps your brain to heal and build those pathways back again. So like I know Bob and I were talking, there's different supplements to take, and he's going to touch a little bit on the supplement part that helps your brain to actually rebuild back some of that tissue and develop those new pathways. So eating fats is another great thing, because fats support the brain. Your brain's made up of fat. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to stay away from fats. No fat, low fat diet. That's what's for me. Well, no. Have you noticed the low fat, no fat diet and increase in dementia and Alzheimer's in our society? It's crazy. So you need to make sure that you're eating coconut oil, butter, that kind of thing to support the brain. Fish oils are another big thing. So making sure that you're doing some of that, because that fat is really important. And then also make sure you're trying to rest. limit the screen time. They always say that to these kids that are going in, but really limiting the screen time because that bright light is not good for your brain. If you think about it, most people work with all these fluorescent lights and they're sitting at a computer, so that strain on their eyes is really demanding. So just a few things that you guys can do. Do you guys have any questions for me? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I do. When you were talking about the symptoms of a concussion, the brain fog, depression, how long can that last?
It can last for life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, until you get the moving again, like you showed in the.
So until you get that moving, or some people need the supplementation to support that, so that way that helps to rebuild those pathways. So it depends on the issue, and usually it's a multidimensional approach. Like that's why we're going to discuss that tonight, because it is important to have a lot of different aspects that you're going at this, because people just don't understand. So yeah, so otherwise if you don't address it, it can continue on. Like Jim McMahon, I think it was like 18 years he lived with it.
Do you know
So
the timeline between that pre and the post? Do you know if
I
it
want to say it was like 20 minutes.
Oh, it was
So
okay,
it
right,
was
one
really
adjustment.
quickly. Yeah, it was one adjustment. Yeah, there is actually a video on YouTube of the adjustment itself, and then you see the fluid.
We're gonna watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you, because I don't have a baseline, whatever screening, could they tell, or could you tell by adjusting me, or when you adjust me, if I have concussion symptoms
So
still?
if I've seen you prior and then post, yes, it's a lot easier. If I see somebody immediately following an injury, that's a lot easier too. But seeing somebody like 10, 20 years, it's hard for me to know what the baseline is.
Right.
So that's a hard part, because it could be from, it could be from this, or it could be from this, it could be from a toxic exposure as well. So it's hard to say with that if it's been that long, but short term, yes. So, any other questions? Okay, good.
Awesome.
So, without further ado, we'll have Bob.
Before we bring Bob up, I do have one friend here that would like to share his experience with one of the supplements that we were talking about. So at this time, if Mike, if the time's okay, his daughter just ran out. Is there
Well,
okay?
it's probably perfect because then I'm gonna have to go out. So thank you.
I'll tell her you'll be out. I'll
Yeah.
tell her you'll be out.
Mike Stanton.
My name is Mike Stanton, and I am a new grant partner of Miriam. And just a little bit more about my background. I'm a realtor now, but before I got into real estate, I was a medical device rep for over 25 years. And I spent many years in surgery with neurosurgical products and a lot of craniotomy surgeries. And then I was in cardiac surgery with St. Jude Medical for many, many years. So I understand what I'm looking at here from a, I don't want to say the PHARMA word, but I get it. My neighbor Laura introduced me to this because my daughter, who just ran out of the door here, is a concussion patient. And we had every intention of having her talk a little bit today. But Dr. Jen, when you were going through everything with the concussions, I mean, it was literally every single thing down the line. It was, and she's probably better off not hearing me tell, because now I can speak freely. My daughter was an amazing hockey player. She played at Hail Murray in 8th grade. And she suffered concussions. And like a lot of athletes, even though we tell them, tell your coach, they don't want to. Because they're competitive, it's their fire in their belly, they don't want to get pulled. So we know for sure my daughter had a concussion because she came up and told us about it, but it was weeks and weeks and weeks after. Her friends finally said, you've got to tell your parents. I didn't want to overreact from it because my younger son got hit in Pee-wees and he just had one, so we're like, I trusted her. So she went to practice at Elite, and there was another impact, and she couldn't get up off the ice. So she was out from September, right about now, all the way until January. mean, and they call it total shutdown. Like you gotta shut them down. Only thing they can do is watch television, which is crazy because it really is mindless. They can't. She couldn't be in school. She couldn't do anything. Couldn't exercise. Couldn't skate. Couldn't do anything. Came back and was taking the puck up the ice and got hit from behind. It would have been a 5 and 10 in boys hockey. Incredible. Couldn't get off the ice again. This time she was trying to figure it out. Didn't want to get pulled again. But when I saw her pass the puck to a phantom player on a breakaway, or when I saw her turn around and skate up the ice the wrong direction, I mean, things were coming apart at the seams. So anyway, to make a long story short, the last impact was she blocked a slap shot from a D1 hockey player, and she scored. They didn't score. But she got back to the bench, and she crumpled, and it was a 911 call. The ambulance came, and she was in trauma at Minneapolis Children's. So I said the words to her, God does not want you to play hockey anymore. But the impacts were just coming and coming. She had a very deep spiral into depression. Gillette Children's is where we were treating her. And they were very specific about watching her because these kids who were knocked out of their sports violently, they can't do anything social, they can't even be in school. She was on a 504 plan. She went from straight A's to not being able to pass a quiz. She does have a diagnosed memory loss at 30 minutes. She can't remember. We actually had to put her in treatment on an intensive outpatient therapy called ARIS in Woodbury. But she still did all her work. She got accepted to Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. And I wasn't going to tell her she couldn't go, so we let her go. Well, it didn't work. We had to bring her back. Who asked her about school? You asked her about school. Anyway, she did have a fracture in her neck. We didn't know because they never checked for the fracture. It just happened to be diagnosed years later. What I want to say, got her on the EHT. She didn't want to put another thing in her mouth. It's working. I don't know what else to say. I know it's working because she is coming back. I think her confidence is coming back. She picked up the guitar. She's playing her guitar. She used to only play with her music and scrolling on her screen, but she's now playing by memory. And she was courageous enough to go and audition for the State Fair Open Talent Competition. She's in. She'll be playing Friday at 6 o'clock at the band shell. And so people are coming up to me and they're saying, Nicole's back. Just her affect, how she looks, how she takes care of herself, how she dresses, how she's behaving. She had it wasn't a personality disorder, but it was definitely, it affected and changed her emotional state. That's a crazy, amazing product, and I know it's working. And she was going to talk tonight, but she is having a pretty serious reaction, panic right now, so I have to leave soon. But my mother saw the box, and my mother's had a stroke, and she goes, Nicole, what is that? And she goes, Grandma, this is the greatest thing. And I was in the other room, and I could hear her telling my mom all about EHT, and Grandma, you should take this. This will help you remember things. I can remember things now. And she was going on and on and on and on, and that's when I said she'll talk. She's not ready.
Like she used the word flashback when she was sitting here, so I think that's what happened with her. She just, I think all of it just came.
The thing about a concussion, and for all you people that have had a concussion or kids that have had a concussion, you can't put a cast on their head.
No.
So it was incredible how she would be told, and to this day, with some friends, you're faking it, you're milking it, you're not really hurt. You should be better by now. On the 504, you're cheating. Nobody else can take an open book test. She couldn't even be in school. That's what caused the whole spiral in school. It was in the locker room. She'd wear her spirit wear for game day. You're not on the team anymore. Why are you wearing that? Just that mean girl thing. And it happened. Kids don't want to say they're hurt, especially if it's a concussion, because they still say bell rung.
How long has she been taking the EHT?
I think she's been on it 90 days now. Has she been? No, wait, I take that back. I think it's been since March. It's working. I am 110% positive of it. Positive. I gotta go out to my dog.
Tell her thank you very much for attempting it. I really appreciate it.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, here she comes. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, perfect timing. You want to say something? This is Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole. Sure.
All you have to do is just kind of talk about, I'm thinking, how EHT, the supplement that you're taking, if it's helped or not. You're the only, because you're the only one that knows.
Yeah, I would say it's helped a lot. I used to not be able to know what I ate for breakfast. I wouldn't remember. I still have a hard time remembering things just because my memory was so bad. At school, when I would take tests, no matter how long I studied, I'd fail them because I couldn't remember anything the next day. I just forgot basic things. If you asked me at the end of the day what I had done, I wouldn't remember. So I would say that the EHT has helped me a lot. I can tell I'm a musician, so beforehand I'd have to look at music every single time I played guitar or sang just to know what I was playing, and recently I've been able to do it all by memory. So I'd say that I can tell the difference.
That's great. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for sharing.
Appreciate it. Can't wait to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, on Friday, 6
night.
o'clock.
Are you on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Text me so I can
Okay.
listen.
And when she gets through the semis, September 4th will be at the grandstand.
September
Oh,
4th.
sweet.
So look for her
Sweet.
then.
All right. We will do that.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just wrap up our little concussion clinic tonight with Bob Kratch. Bob Kratch is a really great friend of mine. He started, has played many years of football, 21 years?
Yeah.
Bob, 25, 21 years? 21 years. He went to college in Iowa, so he was an Iowa Hawkeye. And then in 1989, he was drafted by the New York Giants and played with the Giants from 89 to 93. And then he ended his career with the New England Patriots from 93 to 96.
Don't go there. Go ahead, get your plug
All
in.
right. His last game was against the Green Bay Packers.
Oh,
there it is.
There it is.
We have a little fun with that.
Brett Favre.
Back.
I help with that one.
Remember, you said
The
after they
championship.
lost the game, he walked like miles with just his helmet in the hand. He didn't want to get on that bus. But anyways, and Bob is, like I say, just a great dear friend of mine. He lives way over on the west side of the city, so I appreciate him taking the time out to come over and to share his experience with concussions in the NFL with us tonight. So, Bob Kratch,
No, I want to thank Dr. Jen for your great information to have us here. Hopefully I get teary-eyed because it affects me emotionally, especially when I see young people like Nicole. Is EHT really working? Young people like Nicole, it's just really, it's a real deal. And I guess I'm kind of in a slight way involved why we're here tonight, because it was because of some brave players going into the NFL and Dr. Amalu. How many people have seen the movie Concussion? It's a great movie. It's very factual. It's real. Where this discovery that he had accidentally of what CTE is, And I remember in 97, 97, when I retired, the league started talking about concussions because there was just a rise of them. But we didn't think of anything. And just like Nicole here, I mean, really the cure was smelling salts, get back in. There was no protocol. Just like dehydration. I'm sorry, what do you call it? When you dehydrate or you go into heat exhaustion. I'm sorry. I suffered heat exhaustion at the University of Iowa. I almost died from it. I went to respiratory arrest. They took me right from the practice. I passed out, and I almost died from it. But I was back on the field in 3 days playing in another hot 100-degree game because they didn't know anything about it until Corey Stringer passed away. Then it became like, holy cow. The same thing is going on here, and I don't want people feeling sorry for NFL players because there's obviously military soldiers who are hitting their head, and the artillery shells, just the percussion of the sound of the artillery. There's a lot of soldiers that are really afflicted with CTE. So I've seen it. One of the lead plaintiffs, Kevin Turner, he recently passed away about 4 months ago. I played with Kevin. He's an Alabama boy. He played in New England with me, and he died of ALS. He was one of the top 2 guys in this litigation lawsuit. Unfortunately, he passed away, and his family hopefully will be compensated because they basically made him broke through all the treatment and everything he had to go through with Lou Gehrig's disease. So I've seen it firsthand. I know Jim McMahon. I've met Jim McMahon, and that's a true story. They're not making that up with the chiropractic adjustments. So I've seen it firsthand. I have a number of players. I have some guys I play with that committed suicide. It just was too much. The light sensitivity, the fluid buildup behind the eye. So when they announced all this and about CTE and the lawsuit, I didn't even want to know what it was. I figured, because there's no cure for it, no known cure, and they still are researching it. And I kind of had my head in the sand. I was like, if I have it, I have it. There's nothing I can do. I don't care. Well, my wife became a brand partner with this company, and they have just some other products. And when they announced this product, and I heard the research from Dr. Jeffrey Stock on EHT, and I won't get into all the nuts and bolts about EHT, Dr. Stock, but Dr. Stock and Maxwell Stock of Signal Biosciences, they're at Princeton University. And their research, they're a biotech company, they're trying to find cures for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. And their research basically led to the discovery of this EHT molecule. The molecule, which is actually, so there's no caffeine in this product, but they isolated a botanical part of the wax of the green coffee bean. And their studies and research was focused on tau protein. Tau protein is the protein in your neuron. It makes you who you are. And what CTE is after the years of hitting, not just concussions, just the constant, like tensile hitting, the tau protein becomes somehow disfigured. It can start leaving the neurons and spreading and growing. It starts, I think, in the frontal lobe. That's when you see the movie Concussion or Slice in the Brain, and you see like a mildew, the edges are dark. That's the tau protein. It's basically shutting down the brain and making guys do the crazy things they do. I have a friend I played with. His name was Corin. He was a defensive coordinator. Played with him at the Patriots. He was a D coordinator at Notre Dame. He started having outbursts in meeting rooms. He got fired. 3 months later, my friend that played with him at a certain college, he had his whole family at gunpoint. He was going to do mass killing, suicide. The police talked him out of it, so he went to shoot himself. He missed his heart. He survived, and my friend said it's not the same Corin. He's on heavy antidepressants, and he's getting all met up. He's just so some guys it's affecting different others. I'm seeing it, and I've heard about the stories about Jim McMahon. I'm thankful that he's getting better. So when I see young people like this, Nicole, so I started taking brain health. When they announced this, I started taking brain health very, very serious because you can do something about it. And if you Google Dr. Daniel Amen, he was the first psychologist, MD. He has the largest collection of behavioral brain scans in the world, like 150,000 behavioral brain scans. He took 100 NFL players, scanned all their brains before he asked them to partake in nutritional, weight loss, eating, like Dr. Jen said, certain fats and supplementation, B6, B12, folic acid, magnesium, and maybe about 40 of them went through this testing. I don't know the exact number. Leonard Marshall, I played with, 12-year all-pro tackle, New York Giants, he's diagnosed with Parkinson's and early onset of dementia. and he's a leader in this concussion fight against the NFL. I mean, the lawsuit's pretty much settled. But they re-scanned the brains 8 to 9 months later, and just the connectivity and what they saw, they couldn't believe it. So this healthy lifestyle. So then when EHT came out, I was like, okay, I have an opportunity here. I can change my ways. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I'm eating a very low sugar carb diet. I'm taking 2 EHT a day. I'm taking DHA, and different some supplements, folic acid, resveratrol, that I'm taking for my brain health. So I think it's very, very important we take care of that, especially any of us who know youth in contact sports, or even the elderly falling down and hitting their head. So my takeaway with EHT, what I discovered for me is, honestly, I didn't really see anything the first 45 days. But what I started noticing was my sleep. Very light sleeper, have very arthritic shoulders. This also has anti-inflammatory properties. I think with the combination of DHA, it's really helped getting off the booze and the sugars, and it's really helped with my pain. But my daughter would always wake me up. I wasn't waking up anymore. That was, and there's thousands, and they didn't tell us it would help us for sleep. So whatever it's doing on the neurons, it's helped me sleep so much better. I've lost my addiction for caffeine. I have 1 cup of coffee a day. I was 6 to 8 a day. Or I was always 3 o'clock, I need to go to Starbucks, get a Venti Dark Roast. That's gone. I don't need that. Energy levels for a 50-year-old guy. I exercise a little bit. I don't go crazy. But I don't have that afternoon crash. Every now and then I do. But that has been very beneficial. And the other thing, and I think maybe it's because of the healthy lifestyle, I would get caught in mid-sentence. Someone would interrupt, or I would get stuck. I mean, I would really, really get stuck. So my focus on things like that, I don't feel like my brain is racing. And maybe, I'll have to ask you about that. But I just, I always try to get ahead of myself in my thoughts. And I find I'm just a little more calmer. But it's a wonderful product. And I'm just glad that now we're seeing boots on the ground like Dr. Jen. They're getting educated. So when kids come in here, it's one thing for NFL players. And the game is changing. It's getting safer. They're passing the ball more. Unfortunately, I played in an era where it was all running the ball, lead with your head, bring your hands, and hopefully I'm okay. I should be. I feel great. But you get a little emotional when you see young kids like Nicole. So just get the word out, spread the word. I mean, I'm not saying each day's for you guys, but it's a really serious thing, and I'm just glad the public, because of what's going on in the NFL. It takes something to put a spotlight on something. Spread the word. So if you have any questions afterwards, just ask me or ask Dr. Jen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. That's all we have for you guys. So for sure, if you have any questions, please feel free to come and ask one of us. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time.